Hi, this is Dr. Thomas, and in this video I want to show you how to evaluate the difference quotient. So before I begin showing you how to evaluate a difference quotient, I just want you to know how to evaluate a regular function. So when we evaluate a function, we are finding the function value for a specific input. For example, if your f of x is negative 3x plus 9 and I say find f of 5, then I want you to substitute 5 in for every x in your original function. So again, all you're doing is replacing the x with a 5 here. So notice we have negative 3 times 5 now. It was x, but we're replacing all of the x's with a 5. Negative 3 times 5 is negative 15. Plus 9 will give you negative 6. So the answer is negative 6. Let's say if I ask you what is f of negative 1. So again, looking at the original function, wherever there was an x, we replace it with negative 1. So it's negative 3 times negative 1 plus 9, which equals to negative 3 times negative 1 is positive 3 plus 9, which equals to 12. So the answer is 12. That's how you evaluate a function. You're only trying to find the function value by replacing each x or whatever variable is being used by that number or that expression that you're giving inside the parentheses. Okay, here is a piecewise defined function. So how do you evaluate a piecewise defined function? Well, let's say your piecewise defined function was f of x equals x squared minus 1 when x is less than or equal to 2, and f of x is x plus 1 when x is greater than 2. Therefore, we'll only use the piece that satisfies this information. So let's evaluate f of 5. We first determine whether this 5 for x. Again, we're looking at the fact that inside the parentheses, that number represents the x. Okay? Is that number 5? Is that number 5 less than or equal to 2? Or is that number 5 greater than 2? It meets the second condition. It meets the second condition. Therefore, we will plug in 5 into the second piece, x plus 1. So instead of putting x plus 1, we'll put 5 plus 1 is 6. Let's go to the next one. F of 0. Is 0 less than or equal to 2? Or is 0 greater than 2? 0 is less than or equal to 2. Therefore, we'll plug 0 into the first piece, 0 squared minus 1, which is negative 1. And then we'll plug in 2 into the first piece again because it says x is less than or equal to 2. So it's important that you understand what these less than or greater than signs mean here. Distinguish the difference between a less than or greater than sign, and you should be able to do this fairly easily. Alright, let's go to the next. Alright, another example. Let's say that g of t equals t squared minus 3t plus 2. So this is the original function. And you are asked to find what is g of a plus 1. Well, here we don't have just one number. We have an expression a plus 1. So it actually works the same way. So we're replacing the t now with all of this, a plus 1. So wherever you see a t, notice there's a plus 1. we're replacing the t's with a plus 1, and then we simplify. A plus 1 squared. Remember that a plus 1 squared has to be written twice and then foiled. So a times a here is a squared. A times 1 is a. 1 times a is a again, and 1 times 1 is 1. Therefore, you get a squared plus 2a plus 1. That's what that information here is coming from. Then you're going to have to distribute negative 3 times a and negative 3 times 1. That gives you the negative 3a minus 3. Then you have a plus 2 here. So, like terms, we just bring down the a squared. 2a minus 3a is negative a. And then you have 1 minus 3 is negative 2 plus 2 will give you 0. So the answer is a squared minus a. The difference quotient. So finally, we get to the difference quotient. I wanted to make sure you knew how to evaluate a function before I got here, because the difference quotient is in itself its own formula. Alright, so this is the formula. F of x plus h minus f of x all divided by h. So normally on the exam I would give you this, f of x plus h minus f of x all over h, and I would give you a function to evaluate using this formula. Okay, so this formula is significant. The difference quotient is significant in calculus. Once you get to calculus, you'll start working with derivatives, and this is sort of like the introduction to derivatives. Let's get started. Alright, it says find the difference quotients for the following functions. Let's work with the first one. F of x equals 6x minus 12. H minus f of x all divided by h. Let's take this one step at a time. We need two things. We need to figure out what f of x plus h is, and we need f of x. But guess what? We already know what f of x is. It's right here. So really we only need to figure out one thing. What is f of x plus h? Now, if f of x equals 6x minus 12, how do you evaluate this function at x plus h? So let me write that in green. X plus h. Okay. If f of x equals 6x minus 12, then what is f of x plus h? Guess what? All we're doing is replacing the x's in the original function with x plus h. Therefore, we'll bring down the 6, but again we are replacing the x with x plus h. So the only thing changed from the first function to the second one is that we replace all of the x's in this function with x plus h. Alright, let's simplify. 6 times x plus h is 6x plus 6h minus 12. Great. We're done with that piece. All we have to do now is put our information into the difference quotient. So, let's go back over here to the difference quotient. Again, we needed the f of x plus h. We got it here. We needed the f of x. We got it here. And we just need to divide all of that by h. So let's do it. f of x plus h is 6x plus 6h minus 12. Then we have a minus sign here. Of course, after you have a minus sign, always put a parenthesis. F of x is 6x minus 12. Now all of this is being divided by h. Now we only have to simplify. So that's 6x plus 6h plus 12 minus 12 again. Then we distribute this negative and get minus 6x plus 12 all divided by h. This when things should start canceling out. That's how you know you're on the right track. 6x's cancel out here, and the negative 12 and the positive 12 cancels, and you have 6h over h. Notice that the h's will cancel too, so the answer is just 6. That's all you have to. Let's work on number 2. G of x equals x squared minus 2x. Alright, again, the difference quotient is f of x plus h minus f of x all over h. You don't need to know that formula. I will put it on the exam, but you do need to know how to evaluate this difference quotient. Okay, so again, we need number 1, we need to know what is f of x plus h. We need to know what f of x is. That's already taken care of. Alright? And we divide all of that by h. So since we're dealing with g, let's rewrite this difference quotient using g. But it means the exact same thing. G of x plus h minus g of x all over h. It means we have g of x right here. We just need to figure out what g of x plus h is. So let's do it. G of x plus h. So all it's saying is replace all your x's with x plus h in its entirety. So I'm not going to write x squared. I'm going to replace it with x plus h in its entirety minus 2 times what? X plus h again, since we have another x. Now we need to simplify. This is x plus h times x plus h. And if we distribute here, this is negative 2x minus 2h. Foiling would give us x squared plus xh, xh again, and h squared. And let's rewrite negative 2x minus 2h. Alright, we have x squared, xh plus xh is 2xh. And notice that nothing cancels out from just this g of x plus h. But now that we have that piece, we have all the pieces we need to put in this formula. So now we have g of x plus h right here. So let's plug it into the difference quotient. What is g of x plus h? It is all of this. So I'm going to write x squared plus 2xh plus h squared minus 2x minus 2h minus g of x. What is that? X squared minus 2x. And I got that from here. All divided by h. So I'm rewriting everything back over so you can see exactly what's going on. So let me rewrite everything back over until I get to this parenthesis and I can distribute negative x squared plus 2x all over h. Now what cancels? The x squareds cancel Do you see anything else? The two x's cancel. And what's left is 2xh plus h squared minus 2h all over h. Notice that there is an h in each of the terms in the numerator. So let's factor it out. If we factor it out, we have 2x plus h minus 2 all over h, and then the h's will cancel, and then what's left is 2x plus h minus 2, and that's our final answer. Okay, so let's do this one. Find the difference quotient for the following function. F of x equals 5 minus 2x. Now you should know the formula by now, but if you don't, I'm going to write it again. So again, we need to know two things. We need to figure out what f of x plus h is, and we need f of x. F of x is already given to us. F of x equals 5 minus 2x. We just got to figure out what f of x plus h is. It is 5 minus 2 times x plus h. Again, all we're doing is replacing the x's with an x plus h and simplifying. So when we distribute, we get 5 minus 2x minus 2h. We have everything we need to plug into the difference quotient. Alright? So what is f of x plus h? It is what we just got, 5 minus 2x minus 2h. We're going to put our minus sign here. Now I always put a parenthesis after that minus sign. F of x is, again, 5 minus 2x. And then we're going to rewrite everything, but we're going to change the signs. So here we have negative 5. Then we're going to have a positive 2x. Things should start canceling out here. 5's cancel. 2x's cancel. And you have negative 2h minus negative 2h over h. And then the h's will cancel. So the answer is negative 2. Okay, one more difference quotient. So we have g of x equals x squared plus 1. Now, for this difference quotient, since we're dealing with g, the difference quotient would just be g of x plus h minus g of x all over h. So we only need to figure out what this g of x plus h is, because again, like I said, we already have g of x. It's given to us right here. So let's figure out what g of x plus h is. We're only replacing all of the x's with x plus h and simplifying. So we're going to get, if you FOIL this out, you will get x squared. Do you know what you'll get next if you FOIL it out? You'll get 2xh plus h squared plus 1. And if you can't see that, write this twice, FOIL it out on the side, and compare your answer to this. X squared plus 2xh plus h squared plus 1. That's what you should get. Alright, let's plug into the difference quotient. Equals, what is g of x plus h? We just got it right here. So I'm going to say x squared plus 2xh plus h squared plus 1 minus, I always put a parenthesis, g of x equals x squared plus 1 right here. Now I'm going to rewrite everything back over, but making sure that I change the signs when I get to this parenthesis. So negative 1 times x squared, that's going to be negative x squared. Negative times a positive 1 is negative 1. Are we canceling anything out? Yes. X squares cancels and the 1's cancel. And you're left with 2xh plus h squared all over h. Notice that both terms in the numerator contains an h, so you can factor it out. If you factor it out, you have 2x left over plus h, and the h's will cancel. So your answer is 2x plus h.